Jordan Peele
Boys kissing. Oh wait, excuse me. Is that work for you?
I
So,
guess we'll go with it.
Slightly obscure movie reference, because of course everything that I say is actually in a script somewhere. Beep boop.
There is no such thing as original thought anymore. We're all just regurgitating the same mediocrity over and over again.
No, there's no such thing as non-political.
That is also a quote from a TV show.
Thank you, Aristotle.
I mean, even the Bible said that there's nothing new under the sun. That was, written 2,000 years ago. So.
Yeah, well, why would they want there to be anything new that they didn't come up with?
Yeah, I mean, did they have running water? Would they shit on that, saying it's overrated?
Well, yeah, because God didn't make it, so it's no good.
Speaking of overrated things,
there you go. No. The Bible, overrated. There's our first time.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
religion is overrated in general.
Ooh,
yeah. Oh, that's for sure.
How to get demonetized in 3 easy steps.
Step
1, start recording.
Never
Step
thought
2,
I would like
YouTube
so
is very liberal. I'm sure they like shitting on religion.
Depends.
They have to.
Just don't say frick, right? Is that on the list of words to get you demonetized?
There are many things on the
There's
list.
a lot of things on that list.
We should just go through them all and see which one.
Right.
Big list.
Yeah.
George Carlin's 7 words you're not allowed to say
What's
on air, but for
YouTube's demonetization list, overrated. There you go.
2 hours.
Yeah, it is dumb. Like the word adult is considered bannable or not demonetizable. That
Demonetized.
I am an adult.
exactly.
Goodbye,
It's like
everybody.
that's sort of kind of like it broke my head when I was looking at it.
Right. Definitely don't say death or note or death note because those things are
Now
also
we gotta
flagged.
appeal again.
It's ironic. You became the very thing you wish to fight against.
Destroy, etc.
So are we the overrated things?
Oh,
we
we're
are
so
very
overrated. Yeah.
I
Are you
mean, I
kidding?
don't know how we
The
get
fact
any
that there are more than
views.
5 people that watch the show, it probably
Like
says something.
that it's not just ourselves watching it again, that
Exactly.
other people actually watch is like,
I mean, if
I
it
mean,
wasn't
we love
for-
you. Please don't stop. But for the
Exactly.
love of science,
please don't.
If it wasn't for me, who is appropriately rated, the rest of this would go off the rails.
You're so overrated.
No.
EG
So
is like the
speaking of
most
overrated
EG
things,
is the
this
most
like-
overrated person on the subreddit.
I'm underrated because everyone says stupid things and they don't listen to reason.
Let's not go there because that's a different podcast. So, because I was already down.
No,
the
this
train
applies
tracks
to this
around the
too.
corner.
This is going to apply to things that we're going to fight about on this one, I'm sure.
Okay.
I thought we
Blade
were starting
Runner
with
for
Blade
some reason.
Runner though. So, because that was kind of the genesis of this whole topic is that you hate Blade
It was
Runner.
it was the first immediate thing that popped into my head as overrated, like as this cinematic, thematic masterpiece, and I'm just like,
So, considering it is the second greatest sci-fi movie of all time next to Empire Strikes Back, please tell us how it is overrated.
First of all, if we're going by that logic, Star Wars, the first one, is the second greatest.
I think this was, Justin's own
I
opinion.
thought we were supposed to
No,
be
there's so
away from
there's
Star
so
Wars at
many
this point?
popular polls.
Well, he brought it up.
There's so many popular polls that
I don't get
it's
polls
usually
do nothing for me.
I know. Look, we're going to get to your opinion. What I'm saying is that it's widely accepted, which is the whole overrated part, right? You say that it is overrated, that people like it too much. There are numerous polls where Empire Strikes Back and Blade Runner go head to head. So, like for the top spot. So yes, people are dumb. The fans don't know. Blah blah blah. That's where the overrated part comes in. So now tell us why it is overrated.
I mean, if it's not self-explanatory, you're not going to understand.
Okay,
you're
well,
gonna have to
thank
argue.
you.
for
Your opinion
case.
is overrated.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Look, as far as I'm concerned, the main things that it gets credit for are visuals, which is not its fault that if they hold up for time or not. I have no real particular problem with them, and I happen to think the visuals are pretty good. I think they get a little too much credit for being like this revolutionary thing when there are comparable things at the same time that are better. I mean, when did 2001 come out before it? And we were just talking about how
Wasn't it like the 80s?
no, Blade Runner's the 80s. 2001 was like 1970.
Oh
Let
man,
me check.
I didn't know we were gonna have homework. So
2001: Space
Hold
if you had,
on.
if you had
Actually,
read,
1968.
1982 and 2001 was 1968.
okay,
There you go.
if you had read Ready Player One, you'd know this. So
Yeah, right.
I have
No,
the
I
Ready
would've-
Player one.
I knew Blade
Four
Runner because that was the
times.
80s. I
Right.
didn't know 2001, which oddly enough didn't come out in 2001.
And I
Um,
get like none of
super
those
weird how they did
references.
that. You know.
I don't. I
Okay,
think
knowing that 2001 came out in 68, I do have a little bit more respect for it because
right,
the visuals were stunning for 68.
right.
So I'm looking at two lists here, and one of them is Blade Runner is the greatest sci-fi movie of all time,
Mhm.
and the other is it's the third best according to Rotten Tomatoes. It's 2001: Space Odyssey, Back to the Future, Blade Runner, Metropolis, A New Hope, The Matrix, Inception. That's bullshit. Inception. You want to talk about something that's overrated? Like that movie, like I enjoyed it, but like I've never rewatched it. Like it's not worth like it's not as just because you're doing something trippy doesn't make it like cool. You know, like
Well, I mean, again, there's the difference between is the movie good and is the movie overrated. So I got no
Right.
problem saying the movie's fine. I just don't think it's the greatest
I mean,
sci-fi movie of all time or comparable to the greatest sci-fi movies of all time based on what people seem to credit it for. I don't
be
think
fair,
I don't think the
most
thematic questions are that groundbreaking. I mean, AIs and humanity and all this stuff. It's like, okay. I mean, did Blade
You got
Runner
to keep
really
in
bring
context the
something that
time
much?
though, as well.
Yeah,
right.
but we're
Like,
in now.
it kind of goes back to a little bit of our conversation from before with comparing The Giver to The Hunger Games to the blah blah blah. Like, which other cyberpunk movie are you going to compare it to, especially for the time? It's definitive. So that gives it a whole lot of props in my mind. Like, sure, other movies have done it, but like in the 80s, we're only starting to catch the science fiction is cool bug because Star Wars came out in 77, right? That was A New Hope. So, like, yeah, sure, you've got, 2001, but it's barely science fiction in a way. Like, obviously, yeah, it's the future and whatnot, but a lot of what they adhere to as far as like the human side of things, especially, that's all conceptual technology. Metropolis with science fiction, sure, you've got a little bit of Flash Gordon in there, that sort of thing. But like by the early 80s, you still can count on one hand, I feel like, how many blockbuster science fiction movies there are. Now,
well,
if you compare it to the scope of all time, sure, it drops off, quite a bit. There are cooler movies, there are other interesting and unique ideas, but as far as like definitely the cyberpunk genre, like what are we going to compare it against? So
If it's, I mean, I get the argument, but to me, comparing it within its own genre,
was
only
there
goes so
even
far.
any what's well, I'm sure it wasn't the first cyberpunk thing, but
Well, that's the other thing. It's not being. It's not. Nobody's calling this the greatest cyberpunk movie of all time, and then just letting it have that. This is. You get the broad sci-fi. You get the general. Movies in general. This is always hyped up as one of the great ones.
mm-hmm.
So, irrespective of its genre, it's getting that praise.
So for me, another help would be a comparator. So what is your, let's say top 3 or 5 or whatever, you want to do for science fiction movies? Is 2001 up there? Because that's one of the examples you brought.
I mean, I haven't seen 2001 in a long time. My go-to is always Star Wars at the outset.
All 3 of them, top 3, boom.
Well, at least the first 2. I mean, I loved Return of the Jedi when I was younger. I can admit that it's got problems as I got older that
Sure.
are more easily
still a good
recognizable.
movie though.
Yeah, no, it's still a good movie. I would personally, subjectively, put it over Blade Runner. Still, as far as like, I mean, it depends. What do we classify? How liberal are we being? Can I put Terminator in for sci-fi? Because
Yeah,
I'm putting
Why
Terminator
would it
above
not?
Blade Runner, both of them.
Hmm.
I mean,
I'm sensing a common
Yeah.
theme here, though.
I mean,
for those keeping score.
even-
Sci-fi is such a weird topic.
Does the Matrix, I guess, count? Because I would
Yeah.
probably put the first
Dude.
one in there over that.
Science fiction's very broad, but I feel like these all solidly fall within.
God, all
the
these
genre.
fucking lists have 2001 as like the one sci-fi movie you should watch, and that movie's so fucking terrible.
It's
Yeah, it's a
just
gorgeous master.
dry,
Like
you know.
it's gorgeous. I'll give it that, but it is like the pacing is fucking.
Alien and Aliens and the original.
Those are
Predator.
amazing.
I mean, these,
Yeah.
you know,
These are
to me,
these?
these are all.
I mean, I guess they're sci-fi, but they're more horror movies almost than they're
And
sci-fi.
Sure.
yet they're totally sci-fi.
They-
Like,
They are,
Well,
like
that's why
I
I'm
guess they're
asking-
sci-fi movies, but I feel like they're almost more horror movies than they are sci-fi movies.
That's
There's
why
a
I'm asking
different
how
thing.
broad do we get to go with this? I mean, are we
it's
counting
in space, and there are spaceships.
Aliens.
I'm not
and
denying
yes,
it's a
I'm-
sci-fi movie. Did I deny that?
eh.
It's bad.
I'm just saying,
I mean,
like you're
I-
quibbling about it. If it's
I would
more
probably
horror,
put
okay.
Back to the Future. Is that
Yes.
that's sci-fi? So
Yeah,
that's ahead of it. These are
According to
all.
the Chinese government, it is science fiction. So it involves themes of time travel, which means Time Cop, Terminator, you know, on and on and on. So
Right. So these are all. I mean, even I haven't seen movies like Close Encounters since I was a little kid, but
Mm.
I remember even liking that better than.
is it
Aren't those
possible you
cups
just
supposed
hate
Hmm.
to be red?
procedurals? No,
Is that possible? I hate what?
procedurals, you know, cop dramas and shit.
I always enjoyed Law and Order. When McCoy came on.
But if you add robots, take it out.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so that's one of the first things. I mean, that was literally the first thing you thought of that was overrated. What else do you got for us?
Taxi Driver.
Okay,
Taxi
you can have
Driver's
that one.
overrated.
I
Oh,
if
that
I've-
one I can have.
if I've seen it, it left no impression, so I probably haven't seen it. You guys,
Well, it
It's
only-
one of De
in the
Niro's
comments, but
earliest.
I
movies,
I
right?
mean, I'm familiar with it, but
It comes up again
Yeah,
only
watch
because that's one of the movies everyone was comparing Joker to, and I don't understand why.
gotcha. No, and I remember that from the trivia. Haven't finished Joker yet either, but we're about like halfway through it. The joys of
Yeah.
parenting life, but
I mean, again, it was fine. It was just another one of those, like, you know, it's that cult classic that everyone says is so great and underrated, and the themes and this, that, and it's like, okay, it was fine.
Well, even the director said he was basing Joker off Taxi Driver, so
right.
that's why.
No, there
everyone-
are elements, but I mean, you got people who say, who, generally speaking, the people who will like criticize Joker are being like, it's just a Taxi Driver ripoff, which I don't get. But they also say the same thing about, like, I think King of Comedy is the other De Niro one that they say it's based off of.
There were people that said the same thing about Lord of the Rings ripping off Star Wars. So, you know, again,
Well-
fans are stupid. Just, I would like to establish that. I fully agree with that statement.
But again, this is why this is why Taxi Driver is in my head, is because it's a recent. I mean, again, it's
Right.
a thing I haven't seen in I don't know how long, and I remember being fine with it at the time, but I wasn't like, you know, when you're growing up and you got all these cool movies that are rated R that you finally get to see for the first time, that
Hmm.
people have told you, oh, you got to check that. Like, I liked Blade a lot more than I liked when I was 12 years old, than I liked Taxi.
You liked Blade more than Blade Runner. Did you see Blade first? Is that some of the disappointment? Like Blade and then the sequel, Blade Runner. What the fuck? He's not even,
Yeah.
what? You know, where's the
Bla-
swords?
Blade,
and the-
Blade holds up. Like, especially
No,
Blade 2. Blade
I
2,
actually-
Oh, no.
underrated.
Look,
Yeah,
look,
Blade 2 is underrated.
Blade is one of the best, like, terrible action movies, especially in hindsight. And I quote the fuck out of Blade. Trust me, I love it to death. It does not hold up, dude.
Blade
Some
2,
motherfuckers are always trying to
Dude.
escape uphill. I'm not sure how that held up in the time, let
It's a
alone
classic.
20, 30 years later. Like,
It's a
no,
classic.
yeah.
I mean, the first one's
You
good.
know, Mascara's
It's
right.
kind of a corny
Come
line,
on.
but
It's-
the
it's-
second one for sure holds up.
It's deeper than anything a replicant that was dying in the rain says. So I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, so you just don't like poetry, but you like stupid ass one-liners. Like, I mean, come on, the best line in that movie is "catch you motherfuckers at a bad time." But other than that, like,
It's a
Yeah.
good line.
oh man,
We should have Wesley Snipes in the John Wick movie. That's gonna happen.
Apocalypse Now, overrated.
I fell asleep.
See, it put the European to sleep. I also, admittedly, I hated the book when I read it in high school, and then I saw the movie, so that may have tainted it a bit. But
To be fair, Saving Private Ryan is also very highly regarded, and I fell asleep to that too.
yeah, I
you're
like.
broke.
Did you guys?
I
Did you
like
guys
Saving-
also sleep through the Battle of Yavin 4? You fucking what?
No.
Like,
A friend
as
of mine
far as
fell
like
asleep.
iconic battle scenes in their genre, like
A
holy
friend of
crap,
mine fell asleep during Pelennor Fields, and I don't understand how he did that.
I haven't seen that one. So
Ooh, a war
wait,
movie that
duh.
actually is
never
that
mind. I'm
holds
an
up.
idiot.
Starship Troopers, right? That's a good movie.
I hate Starship Troopers.
No.
Oh, you're just a
Okay.
hater. You're just a fucking
Starship
hater. That's all
Troopers
you are.
compared to its source material is awful. You know,
Yeah.
it's lucky for Starship Troopers, the movie, that I saw it before I read the book. But
Come on, the movie
you know,
has to
like,
be better than the books. The movie's so good.
the book is great for what it is.
I was going to say the
and I
book
mean,
really is good, and it takes a pretty weird divergent from the movie. Like the movie, what the movie tries to say is very, very different.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think the director has said that, you know, the intent is still to capture the satirical nature of the anti-fascism and whatever, but people kind of took it more literal, I think, you know, where they were like, oh, you know, they're promoting, you know, xenophobic fascists. And it's like,
Well, it's easy to go overboard when you're doing a visual medium versus a literary one, I suppose. Because when you're seeing all the action on screen, it's like a Stallone action movie, but after he was done with the first Rambo, which is very good, and all the other ones are terrible. Where it's just guy with machine gun mowing down people.
right.
And so when it's so overt, it's like,
Hot Shot was a much better Rambo movie. So
I actually watched First Blood again for the first time in a long time, about a year ago, and it was
Right.
so good.
Like I have a hard
Oh yeah, Hot Shot.
like
I
movies
forgot
like
about that.
like Rocky. I think is a good movie, but I have a hard time getting into it because like the pacing of 70s movies is so different.
Yeah, it's
From,
very
like,
hit or miss.
even-
I think it goes further than that though too, because like to kind of add to that from my own perspective, like I'll tell you shit that I find overrated. Most of what Hollywood likes about their own movies, like that shit is almost always overrated to me. Like I can find things to like in some of them, but if it's like, you know, best picture this, won some award at Cannes, that, whatever, like there are exceptions to this rule, obviously. And I'm, you know, guess what? I'm pretty strict on the whole sci-fi horror fantasy thing. So if it's one of those movies, probably not overrated because I liked it, right? But, you know, like there are loads of those, like Hurt Locker, right? Like, okay,
Hey, that
great.
movie was so boring. I did
No,
not understand why
that
people
is
loved
such
it.
a fucking good movie.
No,
Yeah,
you're
I mean,
fucking
it's-
wrong. That movie sucked.
You
It's
don't
got
like Saving.
good
You fell asleep at
parts,
Saving Private
but-
Ryan, but you like Hurt Locker.
Yeah, it was so powerful.
That
Man,
was,
it
like,
got
that
me
was-
right in here.
Okay, so like
That's recency
that
bias
was
for
when
you.
I quit watching the Oscars because
Right.
that year
It's, yeah.
that year I saw 43 movies in theaters and I saw every Best Picture nominee and like Hurt Locker was like 7th or 8th at best. Like Up was a better movie than.
Oh, yeah.
Even
I've never
before that,
watched Up.
how many years was it before that when Crash won over
I'm
the
gonna give you up.
when it was clearly by far the worst of all the nominees?
Which one?
Crash.
Yeah, it would have to be 2006.
Crash is a movie about inner city pain, and that's it.
Basically, Crash was 2004. Let's see.
So because it's some sort of tragedy and they think it's like social
Right.
dialogue, discourse.
Oh, that was another one where the themes got overrated because it was like, oh, a racist cop ends up saving black woman in
exactly.
in a highway smash type thing.
All right.
I
well,
have
you
known
said
too
about
many
5
people-
things that are going to get us demonetized, but you know, thanks for adding that.
I've known too many people that needed to watch Crash in whatever school, like sometimes English classes, they would force it. Like you have to watch this and now write a report about it because they think they're deep.
Let's see. It went up against Brokeback Mountain,
Oh my god, such a good movie.
Capote, Good Night and Good Luck,
Didn't see that.
Munich, which I don't think I ever saw. And Crash is the one was the one that came away with the award.
I don't know, Crash, didn't see it. I don't know how
Yeah.
to win over Brokeback Mountain because
It's
that's a
bad.
masterpiece.
Well, Good Night and Good Luck, even where they're talking about where the McCarthy era and what's his name? Who's the
I wanted to see that one, but I don't think I ever got around to it. So
It was good.
Yeah.
But here we are.
Yeah,
But yeah.
if you guys are keeping score at home, we probably noticed that the director has hardly said anything. That's because we already know her answers, Joss.
To direct, yeah,
Buffy,
Marvel movies,
yeah.
and then she doesn't watch anything anyway.
So
It's
if
getting
there's
hard for me to say what is overrated that isn't what I've already said, so I'll shut up. And you guys are talking about movies I probably haven't seen. Like, I've
So
never
again,
seen
I was going to say,
2001.
like, what's the third or fourth most overrated thing on your list?
Harry Potter. Harry Potter's overrated.
The movies
Eh,
are, and I
Excuse
grew up
me?
loving the books, but the movies went
No,
to
the books are the
Movies
such
are
a
hit or
are
miss.
letdown.
terrible.
Some of the movies are
Excuse
decent.
me?
Come on,
What?
I can
Bring it on,
set the
motherfucker.
fandom. I can set the fandom ablaze with one comment. Did you put your name in the goblet of fire? You know, come on.
Fucking hate that scene.
Here's the thing: even that moment and that movie, but once what's his face takes over, Yates and wands become just like guns with flashbangs and all this stuff. It's so terrible. And I loved
No,
them
like,
growing up, but it's
that's,
like I can't watch
Guns
them
Akimbo,
now.
right?
Like,
That's the one.
J.K. Rowling's writing style gets so pedantic and repetitive. Like, I just can't do it. Like, she is not a good writer. Like, that's just my opinion. She's not a good writer. Am I a
I
better
don't-
writer than she is? No, but she's not a good writer. I hate her writing style. I even listened to the audiobooks with Stephen Fry to like try
They're
and
really
make it
good.
better, and I couldn't do it. Like, she is so repetitive, it is terrible. Like, even Jim Butcher does it to an extent, but he does it in a smallish way where she's like, hey, we're gonna rehash the entire last 6 books, every story. Like, like there's at least 3 chapters in every book that's rehashing the last like 3 books.
Kids have short-term memories.
That's
Right.
but is that
Remember that time there was a troll
is
in
that
the
a writing
dungeon?
style? I thought writing style was like prose and
Well, but even her prose and shit is terrible.
that I
like-
don't get. I don't understand the whole that I never notice when something is bad prose or not bad prose. I'm just like, do I like this or not? I don't understand if something is bad or not, I guess, when it comes to prose.
And maybe it's because I was listening to the books that I noticed like how she like just reuses words over and over and over and over again. But it's just like I felt like she was just like hitting me over the head with a baseball bat every time I read one of her books. It's like, oh God, how'd you make $1 billion off this shit? This is not very good.
Because okay, so maybe the prose is bad. I don't know. They say Sanderson and Butcher have bad prose too. I just find them a
Sanderson
delight
has
to read.
flaws that he has gotten over, but in terms of words that come up way too much, like in Mistborn, he abused the word maladroitly to the point that when Butcher used it once, I had flashbacks.
What word?
Maladroitly,
I don't even know what that means.
clumsily. Adroit means
Okay.
agile, essentially, and so mal is badly agile, clumsy, and he just abused it all over the place in Mistborn.
I always love those people that they're like, I learned this one word, and boy, am I going to find every sentence it could possibly be in. So that sounds like that phenomenon.
He says he didn't realize when he was writing it that he did it,
Yeah.
but now he can look back
If
and
only
like, oh yeah,
he had
totally
some
abused it.
kind of beta readers or
Yeah.
an editor or
yeah.
somebody whose job it is to catch these things.
Yeah, but he didn't do that in Elantris, and he's not doing that in Stormlight. He's fixing issues.
See, character growth.
But I
even
just
for
don't. I don't
authors.
see that. But why? How Harry Potter made a bajillion dollars? I mean, it's a book series that defined a generation.
I get that, but it's also, you know what? That's the same thing that you can say about Twilight. It's a book series that defined a generation.
I
Sadly true.
haven't read Twilight,
So
but honestly, I don't think they're as bad as people
And you
make
can
them
also
out
say
to
that
be.
about 50 Shades of Grey. Like it's a it's a book series that defined a generation.
No,
I
A
think
generation of
that's giving it
parents.
too much.
But
a
still,
generation
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
fucking football moms, or I don't know.
Soccer moms.
Generation's a
Yeah, I
generation,
guess
whether they're
you're
old or
football,
not.
right? Yeah, gross.
Now, does football mean soccer in your vernacular, or do you mean
Yes.
actual American?
I know.
It's
I was
actually
like,
a
wait,
foot-
no,
It's actually a
but
foot
European,
and a ball.
not a
It's
hand
football.
in an egg.
Yeah.
you know, in the UK, like originally it was called soccer, and then they changed it to football.
They mostly still call it soccer, but
As they
if you're on
should,
the
because
mainland,
football is American, apparently. That's just the rules, man.
Football's
Speaking of
overrated. I'll say that.
We're a young
Yeah.
ass
Most
country.
sports are
Which-
overrated, and I don't get
Fuck
it.
you,
Why?
Director Alex.
There you go.
Yeah.
We're a young ass country with no culture. There.
Also,
No, I mean, come on. Definitely compared to, I don't know, anything else of measure. Like the fact that you can make $500 million over 10 years playing sports ball. Come on, that's overrated. And a lot of people who enjoy sports ball think the same thing. So, like, it's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy the level of celebrity and everything you get from, the sports. Like I get it. I enjoy watching at times. I enjoy the good plays. I don't follow the teams and the players.
I'm not denying that there's a lot of skill and effort and practice and
Well,
theory that I
crazy
don't
is, like,
understand, but it
European
is
soccer players
overrated.
European soccer players make way more than American players do. Like even in the major sports like Major League Baseball and everything else, like they make
Well,
way more
yeah,
money.
because soccer players tend to be worldwide figures, whereas most athletes in America, barring a couple, your Jordans, your LeBrons, your Derek Jeters, even become global icons. Most soccer players are, because soccer is a much more global sport, and
Right.
we stay insular because we're America and we're number one, and we don't need the world,
We're number one. We're number one.
or so I've been told.
Damn straight.
Speaking of overrated things,
Yeah, America.
yeah, right. We're gonna get political. Now we're really getting demonetized.
Yeah, man, that whole revolution thing.
I guess Game of Thrones is not really overrated anymore because the last
Oh,
two
Game of
seasons
Thrones
just
turned it to the
Game of
ground.
Thrones
It's
just
not
tanked
rated.
that in the
It's
end,
not
so it's not
rated.
overrated
I mean,
anymore.
Those first like 2 seasons were so good, and then like by even for me, season 4, I was like, I'm done. like I just quit after.
Can't
season.
agree. Even seasons 5 and 6, which are not good, but I enjoyed them because I
I
was
thought
still.
they were. I mean, they were
ride.
good. They're good. They're just not as good. I would
Right.
say.
Nah, they got some problems too. But you see season
seven,
7 and season
I
8
was
are
such a
so
season 7
abjectly terrible.
apologist. Like, it was unreal how mental loops I went through with season 7. I was like, I believe in them. I trust them. They'll pull this through in
because we
season
devoted
8.
6 years to mostly good show.
And then by
Sunk
like
cost
episode,
fallacies.
it's so funny because like by episode 2, I was like, oh my fucking god. And then episode 3 came. I was like, oh, okay, we're going somewhere here. This is not bad. I don't like the it's so dark, but
This would
It's
be
so
another
dark.
great topic.
That
Is
was
like
so
talk,
dark.
like,
Game
all
of
the
Thrones.
The
dialogue's
collapse
great.
of Game of Thrones.
So somebody want to walk me through how the first episode of season 1 we can push a small child out of a window, but by season 8 it gets dark. Somebody want to
No,
tell
I
me
mean,
that?
I
one?
mean,
No, he means
not
the literal physical
the
lighting.
literal
You couldn't
lighting
see
of
anything on a
As in-
TV
yeah.
screen.
Because they were fighting at night,
Not
and
the
that's
see-
you
that's
can't
episode
see
4.
shit.
That's episode 4 where you really can't see anything. But even like in episode 3, I was like, it's a little. Is it episode 3? It's the one.
No, it is
it's the,
episode 3, which is the long night, which lasts all of one night.
It's the one where it's the episode that gave me hope. Right after my hope had been crushed, was the one with all the dialogue where they were actually talking right before the battle. Everybody
That was the
going
second
on.
episode.
Yeah. So by the first episode, then I must have been like, oh my fucking god,
But
this
that was the
is
thing.
absolute
And
shit.
I season episodes 1 and 2 were the best of the season. But even then, it was such wasted time because they were only doing the 6, and it was like, you don't
They
have time
turned
for
down
this.
having a 10-episode season.
They turned down having 2 more seasons
Yeah.
We're going to Star Wars, baby.
because they're
Right.
pieces of
Everything.
shit.
They're crying themselves to sleep on their huge piles of
Yeah,
money. I'm
exactly.
sure.
Yeah.
I would happily pay $500 million for sports ball than ever give those to anything. But I
So
don't make
happy
these
they didn't get
decisions.
the Star Wars.
But
I don't want
part
to
of
be
the
happy for
reason-
other people's misery, but fuck those guys.
Part of the reason that season happened so badly is because they put too much stock in the idea of subverting tropes, and subverting tropes is overrated.
Yes.
That is true.
Hey,
Subverting
now,
tropes.
I feel personally attacked. Like,
Because they lost all they took away apparently from Martin's writing. The point was subvert as opposed to the quality of the subversion.
Yeah.
Right.
No, when
And
you
that's-
spend
I mean, that's a big
7
part of it,
seasons
too.
leading up to this is the promise, and then they just cut it off, and it's like, no, it's something else. Oh, we're so clever. It's not fucking clever. It's unsatisfying.
hmm.
That's
And
another
you
kind of
person writer I
forgot
do
that
not care for.
I mean, who has a better story than Bran the Broom?
yeah, no, oh my god, I almost threw something at the TV, and I knew it was coming because after a certain point, I was like, I had stayed away from the leaks
Mm.
because I didn't want to be spoiled. I was still on the like, all right, let's see what happens. And then after the episodes, I was like, no, I got to read this stupid. And it was basically like 95% 1-to-1, all this. So I knew what was coming at the end. And it was still infuriating to actually watch it unfold.
I mean, I will say, I hope George doesn't actually change the ending because I'm pretty sure what those things that happen is where George wanted to go. And I think he can get there in a satisfying, meaningful way if he
Right.
finishes the
That's
books.
the thing,
But if he actually gets there,
if more or less anybody the same roles end up happening, fine. And I'm just as happy to
That
see it
can be
happen
fine,
developed and him get the credit for it, even if though it's been 58 years and and them die. But we're never getting those books, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. I think it's important to recognize that the conclusion what they got to was not the problem, it's how they got there. Like, right, that was the problem. It's not that Bran became king. It was completely out of nowhere. They didn't build it up properly.
Well, there's that, and then a lot of the other threads that just get dropped. I can't imagine, with all the ground his books cover, that he's going to just be like, nope, we totally left a thread point. I don't think he's left a thread point his entire career.
Well, that's the thing. He's got so many thread points.
That's his issue. Is he just keeps doing
Right.
this, and he
Exactly.
He doesn't drop thread points. He splits them, which is why it's never going to finish.
Right.
Another reason.
Also, another great South Park episode.
South Park.
Episodes.
Speaking
South Park's
of overrated.
Oh, fuck you. South Park is amazing, you commie bastard.
Whoa.
How dare you?
Speaking
attack
of
America
overrated,
like that,
America.
Yeah.
But really,
Rick and
South
Morty,
Park,
but we
it's
already did that.
Come on, it's
episode.
overrated.
Right.
No,
Yes.
South Park is still
Oh.
really good.
Yeah, I guess I tend to agree that South Park is overrated just because I don't really care about it. But
I'm not a big fan.
that doesn't
I guess-
necessarily make it overrated. That just means I don't give a shit.
I don't understand when people.
Well, I mean, that's the underlying topic of this whole episode. Like, I don't agree with Jacob's assessment that Blade Runner is overrated. He just didn't like it as much as some other things, which is why he thinks it's overrated. So,
I mean, most of the things we say are overrated are, to a large extent, objectively good. I mean, Jacob says it's overrated with Harry Potter, but objectively, it's not a bad story. It worked. It was really popular for a reason.
The other one.
Yeah.
I forget there's another one.
Just like Blade Runner, objectively, I haven't seen it. It's a good movie, right? It's objectively, even you would say that, even if you say it's overrated. It's a good movie.
It's a fine.
It's just not as good as people say it is.
Correct.
I mean, every list I've seen it on has in the top 5 best sci-fi movies.
Of course it does. Which is part of the reason overrated, I think, comes into play.
So would you say top 25?
Yeah, you could put it. I would be perfectly comfortable saying top. I would even be perfectly comfortable saying top 15. But don't tell me top 5. Don't tell me top 3. Don't tell me number 1. No.
Okay.
Yeah, so I brought it up again to give like a way of crowdsourcing its place, but certainly I don't think, like as far as giving it the top spot, like in a way it's got to be genre defining and like in a huge way, right? Like, so I talk about it as genre defining for cyberpunk, sure, but not necessarily for sci-fi as a genre, right?
I mean, if you talk cyberpunk movies, it's got to be in like the top 2 or 3. Like,
what else?
What else
movies?
is cyberpunk?
Let's see.
Is Matrix cyberpunk?
Blade Runner 2049.
Matrix is probably cyberpunk.
Yeah, you could definitely make the argument.
Sure. Johnny Mnemonic is cyberpunk.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
Don't know that
classic.
movie.
It's
you should
early,
see it. Also Keanu Reeves.
Early Keanu Reeves, yeah.
You should watch it through the lens that we had no idea how computers worked in the 90s, and then sit back and laugh and laugh and laugh. Because
Lawnmower Man,
so
that's
bad.
definitely cyberpunk. If you want like crazy, like early, like late 80s, early 90s, like idea of what virtual reality was.
Right. Like some of these movies, the part of why I'm having a tough time with the genres. Like, so you get the cyberpunk that focuses on like the cyber part of it, right, with the
Right.
virtual reality and the cyberspace, and then you've got like the cyberpunk that deals with the like, futuristic noir, just Earth sucks and people are bad,
Demolition Man, that could be cyberpunk.
I was gonna say, it's funny. I looked up a top 10 list just now of best cyberpunk movies. They have number 1 is Blade Runner 2049. They do not have the original Blade Runner on it at all.
That's just silly.
I could
What's
say
where
that
did- where's this
2049 is
list
better
from?
than the original. They did a really good job with 2049.
It is supposed to be
2049 was-
really good. Can you watch
2049,
that
I
or not?
almost fell asleep on. I gotta say,
But,
I like
but
the
you
original.
I
gotta,
could
you have
see it,
to
though.
understand like how movies have changed. Like watching 2049 today is different because it has like normal pacing for what you're used to, where Blade Runner, the original, doesn't.
I think I hate the new one's pacing more, to be perfectly honest.
Right, but it's more of a standard Hollywood blockbuster pacing versus like what the pacing of, the original Blade Runner was. It's just a different style of movie making that we're not used to anymore.
Well, could I watch that one without watching the original?
Yes.
Because I mean, there's some old movies that I really enjoy going back and watching, but most of that is probably nostalgia. And if I'm gonna watch an old movie that I have no relationship to, and it's just, the graphics, if you want to say that, it doesn't look, when it's a movie that relies on that and like to set up a world and it doesn't look good anymore, it really takes me out of it.
So I guess you're not gonna watch Flash Gordon.
I've watched Flash Gordon a lot of times, but it's because a guy I was living with at the time, like, he just put it on a lot.
I
your life
think
partner.
He-Man Masters of the Universe, as much as I love that movie, falls solidly in the nostalgia.
Is that the one where they come to Earth and stuff?
I think so.
I've seen that on the TV, and I enjoyed that. I saw it as a kid, I think.
Right.
Well, the old Ninja Turtle movies to me, I think, are still fantastic.
Oh yeah, no, for
No,
sure.
no.
Especially
I even
compared to
watched
the
them as a
current
kid.
ones.
And I was like,
You have absolutely no like, people don't like my opinions. You have had easily the worst takes this episode.
that's you're certainly allowed to think that.
All right.
I don't know. It's
So,
just
do we stick with movies, or do we want to move on to other like TV shows, books?
Go
Well,
for
I
it.
was glad when we took the Game of Thrones slant, because I definitely was going to bring up, like TV shows that are overrated. So in the director's corner, I'm sorry again, like we hate Star Wars, you hate Joss Whedon, so we already know Buffy's there. Is there another TV show you hated? Like overrated? specifically?
Supernatural.
Oh,
Really?
you hurt me. You hurt me deep.
Yeah.
I've
okay,
never
Seasons
tried it.
1 and
I'll
2,
say I've never
terrible.
tried it, but
Well,
I don't think Supernatural.
What?
but I can confidently say it is overrated what it should be.
No.
With
Well,
how
that
people
depends
go
on what
crazy
you
for
what.
it.
So
You
depends
haven't
on what you're-
seen-
Overrated
haven't seen
TV for me
Supernatural?
is Lost. Like I
Yeah.
cannot get into Lost.
Lost
That is overrated.
Seinfeld overrated.
Yeah.
Yes, but not by like it's a really funny show.
No. It's got funny in it. Sometimes you're watching an episode and you accidentally did the funny, but like just to sit down and watch it end to end.
Here's the thing with Supernatural. I am perfectly able to say it's absolutely insane that it managed to last 15 seasons. Like the really high quality stuff ended after like season 5. I'm perfectly happy to say that.
Why do I agree with EG on something now? I don't like it.
For it to be overrated, I think it would have to still be
Someone in the comments is saying to leave
like
Seinfeld alone.
within its lens, especially for the channel it's on, which is the CW, which is known for garbage TV left and right, including all the DC shows, which are abjectly horrible.
Supernatural's better than all those.
Far
DC.
and away better, and it
love that.
has the staying power, it has the nostalgia, and nobody really thinks it's like the greatest TV show ever. They just it's campy and they enjoy it.
Supernatural?
Okay.
Are you kidding me? There's like a huge cult following. There
Yeah,
are
I
people
don't
that are
think-
mad that you
There's
did
a very
that.
But I
There's a
don't
very
think
niche
anybody's actually
following.
thinking like this is genre-defining television, like Breaking Bad for the last 20
Right.
years.
Yeah, I don't think anyone who's really into Supernatural are like, this is the greatest show ever.
They love it like people love the Dresden Files. Like there are some people that think it's the greatest book series ever, even though it has a following, but I don't think anybody really believes it's Tolkien.
The impression I got from the fandom, maybe they were just from the crazy people, but they did seem to hold it up like that. It's like that. It clearly cannot be that good, even if it is very enjoyable.
I have to parse this out because there are people who think Batwoman's a good show and they love it, and I don't. There are humans I don't understand on this planet. But so you're in the same general community, the people who like Arrow and Flash and all these terrible, terrible shows.
Oh my god!
And they just stick with them forever. So there's that subsection. And then there's just a really passionate fan base who's like, I want this to go on forever. It's ridiculous. I love it.
Yeah. There were definitely some interesting bits for Supernatural. I remember like thinking back to it, like we watched season 1. I think it was just a combination of like, well, we got nothing better to do. And it's still kind of in our genre of,
I mean, I am the target audience for Supernatural.
I mean, you should be, right? But like at the same time, like season 1 is just very much Monster of the Week, right? And they keep that, but like the season finale finally added some story that I cared about, and it was like, oh, wait a minute, now we've got to see what season 2 brings, and we kind of got to keep going. And I mean, we didn't start until they were well into like season 6 or 7 or something like that. And one of the arguments also was like that was one of the first shows that part of the justification was, well, it's been on the air for like 6 years. It's got to be worth something, right? So we kind of got into it, and I enjoyed, some of the storytelling, some of the ways that they dealt with the monsters and the folklore and stuff. And I mean, not that this is a credit for the director, but it fills a niche that Buffy the Vampire Slayer had in a way. Like, they're dealing with some challenge every week. They've got some unique take on the lore and the mythologies and things like that. And then you like even when it starts to like jump the shark after like seasons 5, 6, it like it just keeps going, and they still find a way to kind of like ground it in some interesting things. Then when they added it's been so long. So Cass, right? He's the angel, and like he's such a great, non-human character. The whole, you want to talk about tropes and things like that. He's the whole like, I don't understand humans, aren't I quirky and whatever, but he's just fucking hilarious and also a total badass. It's like, imagine Uriel from Dresden Files, like, but on as a recurring character. Like he gave up his grace and now he's just stuck here, and humans are weird, but I'm a badass because I've been fighting since the dawn of time. So there's always something to latch onto. But yeah, I'm definitely one of those, like I solidly enjoyed it. Eventually I finally just let it like keep going. I have not seen past like season 8 or 9 or whatever. Like, I kept up on some of the high points, but
you got to keep going, man. They start punching God in the face.
It goes like
way past.
I don't think Supernatural ever peaked after season 5. That was the best, and that was the best ending.
And pretty much everyone agrees on that, even the most diehard fan. Which I think on this
the next couple of seasons are rough.
Yeah, they are.
And then it starts. Then it starts going up. The Leviathans
are
so bad.
Are rough.
Yeah.
And the one right before it, where they're hunting they start a decent idea where it's like the alphas of all the monsters. So like the proto.
They did not do that very well. It could have been good.
And it could have been great. It could have gone right back to the thing that was its strong suit initially, which is the twist on the lore.
Right.
And they really dropped the ball on it. But then it gets fun again, so I don't care. I think the most comparable thing I can think of that went on for far too long, and I don't understand why people actually think it's a good show, is like Grey's Anatomy.
People think that's good.
People still love Grey's Anatomy.
As opposed
I know
to
it's gone on for way too long, but it seems
I think we can all agree that Supernatural is kind of like on the niche side, but you have your very wide normie community that loves Grey's Anatomy and still to this day thinks it's high drama.
Director
and it went on.
That is probably elbows the entire fandom in the face.
So that is probably true.
That
if you ask like an normie, that's like, oh yeah, Grey's Anatomy, woo, that's good shit.
See, I kind of thought like some people would they would admit in secret that they would watch it, but they wouldn't want to admit it in like broad public of like.
I mean, I have aunts who post on Facebook like Grey's Anatomy, this and that, and it's like, oh, they're out
There
and
you go.
proud.
Andreas'
about
aunts
it.
prove it.
Yeah.
And I'm over here talking shit in the comments because someone said Scrubs was overrated. And I'm like, you can go straight to hell.
Oh man, Scrubs is so
That's-
overrated.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Scrubs, I
Yeah,
love
like-
Scrubs, but Scrubs after season even like 3, it takes a big sharp dip.
I said the first couple seasons are good, and then I just stopped caring about it. And
And then it has a
Uh,
great finale, and then they brought it back for reasons no one understands.
No, like season. No,
Money.
Yeah.
I can't
It's
imagine it
always
made money though. It was
yeah,
terrible.
it was
always
like
money.
no one wanted what it was Scrubs like med school or something like that. Like
So the show doesn't need to make money for the producer to make it with money. Like somebody made money, whether or not
Right.
the show had a profit.
Well, this broadcast doesn't make money, and I don't make money, but I still do it. It's for the love.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not sure
It should
you're
be for the
capable
quality
of those feelings,
content.
DG.
So Scrubs Med School was for the quality content. It was a
No.
passion
It
project.
should have been, but it wasn't. It was for the money. That's my point. This is for neither, so we fill a really specific.
Did you get? You said you got to season 9, Justin?
I don't know.
Did you
it
get to
was
the Kane mark?
I want to.
That's where I think it kind of gets really good. Again.
Like I definitely got to the part where they like met Metatron, and I'm pretty sure I got to the part where they had like banished the angels from heaven, and they were starting to fight the angels, and I think that was when we were caught up to real time, and it just wasn't compelling enough to keep like every week coming back to it. And I'm like, this show is okay to binge when I got nothing better to do,
That's
but
how
it
I watch
wasn't
it
like.
too.
Well, yeah, you could. I mean, season 15, it's only halfway done now, and it's the last one. So unless they decide now that Corona's happened that they want to keep going at it, but I don't think they.
Well, because now they can fight the coronavirus, so they fought everything else. But
Dude,
I
come
like
on.
the concept of season
They-
15 a lot.
They're fighting God. They fought God's sister at some point. They're fighting
Those
God
13.
now.
Because I mean, once you get towards some of those later seasons, like that's when you've got Crowley, right? Like that's where that all comes in. So, like,
Crowley's
Well,
awesome.
for a while. I mean, the things
Sure,
the later
spoiler.
seasons do
Don't spoil it.
badly is they overdo Lucifer a lot.
yeah.
I mean,
okay.
the actor's just so great. When they had that other guy play Lucifer, I was not about that. But
Right.
The main
no, he is
Lucifer
he is
actor?
good, but again, he's another one that should have essentially like after season 5, they should have cut that cord.
Yeah.
Just stop.
But,
Too much of a
I mean,
good
to
thing
be
is a
fair,
bad thing.
they should have just stopped at season 5, and it would probably be one of the best.
Yeah,
urban
it would
fantasy,
it would be a lot
supernatural
higher
fantasy shows. ever.
generally rated than it is as opposed. But I mean, that's the trade-off. So I mean, do you take the Dresden Files? If the Dresden Files had stopped after changes,
Right.
is it
But
is
there's-
it
we're
more-
not done.
do people still does a higher crowd of people be like, oh, what could have been?
If we stopped the
versus
changes, we
trade-off
wouldn't
of
have
what it is.
gotten
Oh.
2 of the best books in the series.
Yeah.
If you're including Peace Talks,
Ghost Story.
you can go take a
Excuse
break.
me.
I know you don't care, agree with Peace Talk, so I'm gonna say Cold Days and Skin Games.
Fine, that's acceptable.
I mean, if you want to explore the cancel too soon type of reactions, then Firefly easily rates there, no matter
Yeah,
how
for
much.
sure.
If you
Yeah.
find it overrated or not, I mean, there's definitely a huge cult
I don't
following
think
that
it's
probably
overrated.
wouldn't exist
I think
if it
it
had gone
would've
for 5 or 6
Still haven't seen
seasons,
it, so I can't tell
you
you.
know. So,
I'll probably think it's overrated just because I haven't seen it, and everybody.
Firefly is
That's
like that
go-to
super
for-
hot girl that comes in your life. You know her for like a month, and then she leaves, and she never does anything bad to you, so you just like pine after her. But she's probably a terrible person.
What I mean, I just feel
Jeez.
what could have been with Firefly, it could have been so good.
Right. I mean, just the taste of the themes that you get out of the movie. Like, just imagine exploring that for, multiple seasons. And, like a similar thing you could probably compare some of it to. Obviously, Farscape goes a little heavier in the, like, sci-fi, bend with having aliens and
Farscape
shit
was
like
fun.
that. But Farscape exploring the, oppressive, alien government and everything like that, like you can compare that. Farscape is one that like I'm trying to give it a good shake, and the wife has seen everything, so I try to watch it with her and everything, but I don't feel like it especially aged well. And like I mean, it's got great elements. I just haven't been hooked so far. I'm not even sure I've made it out of the first
So,
season yet.
I'm gonna have a really unpopular opinion here. Star
Doesn't make a
Trek,
point.
the fourth Star Trek movie with the whales is way overrated. It's a piece of shit.
Okay. I'm really not sure you're going
I
to
was
find
gonna
a lot
say,
of
is that
argument.
I thought that was pretty
4
well
is
considered to be
No,
a
like
joke
everyone
movie.
I talk to, like I'm like, yeah, that movie sucks. They're like, no, that's the best one of like the originals. I'm like, no, it's awful.
no, it's certainly not the best of the originals. Not even, like maybe 3. I'd go as high as 3. Like, it's certainly not better than Wrath of Khan. It's certainly not better than Undiscovered Country. So
It's just talking
like,
about things I don't. I started with Picard. I watched all the
Okay.
Picard movies. I watched Next Generation. I watched Deep Voyager. I haven't watched Deep Space Nine yet, but the old
me,
stuff is that
you-
even good?
you-
Like honestly,
yes.
is it
D-
even good?
Yes, it's-
DS9
okay.
is probably the best series in my opinion.
right, for sure.
Can
So-
be better than Voyager because that's a masterpiece.
I don't think you've got to watch the first 6 movies in order or anything to get the story. I think I did it with the wife to give her like the crib notes on the original series, because I think especially, 50 years later, the original series doesn't particularly age well, but it's the some of the better episodes throw back to fun themes, like, or, it can be important to understand why the fans hated certain episodes, because for example, we've watched all of the shows except for the original series. We're now in Enterprise, and they just did an episode where they ran into the Romulans when they shouldn't even know they exist yet. So they're pretending that the Romulans, like, oh, we don't know who they are, so it totally doesn't break continuity. But explaining to her that it's like in the original series, like it's not like, oh, well, we're just going to play around in this gray space. It's very well established what the timeline looks like, and they didn't even know what the fucking Romulans looked like until Kirk's era. Anyway, that's a different rant. You apparently triggered something, but if you're interested in the original series, there really are good movies like that. You don't necessarily need to have a lot of background for, like the Wrath of Khan. It might help you to understand that he's run into Khan before, but guess what? They kind of cover that in the movie.
Like
The-
2, 4, and 6. If you're gonna watch the original
Exactly.
movies, it's 2, 4, and 6 are the ones you want to watch.
Skip 5 entirely, like, unless
Yeah,
you want
it's
some meme
terrible.
The
material.
only original,
Um,
I'm not sure if it's original, is the one where they cross over between Kirk and Picard.
That's
Generations.
That was the first Star Trek. That was the first TNG movie.
Yeah.
That's
the-
I
and
think
that's
the
the
first
ultimate-
Star Trek movie I watched.
Other than the remakes, I'm pretty sure that's still the only Star Trek movie I've ever actually seen.
What?
You gotta
Watch
at least
First
watch First
Contact.
Contact.
the Next Generation
Watch First
movies are
Contact.
I'm not a
The-
Trek person.
all the
Oh.
Next Generation movies
Watch
are all
First
good.
Contact.
Is there even a bad Next Generation movie?
First Contact's the worst.
Insurrection.
Yeah, Insurrection's pretty.
And basically
universally
everything
banned.
after First Contact.
Generations is
bad.
not amazing. I like Generations.
I
but
like
it's
it,
not
but
great.
it's yeah.
Insurrection, there are parts that I like, but it is not
But
great.
there's
Nemesis
another
is
one
not
too.
really
I'm
great,
forgetting.
Which one's Insurrection? Let me see. Oh, that's the one with the
They fight
stretchy
the
face
sonar.
people. That's
Yeah,
fine.
they fight the
Generations is the
sonar,
one where they
but, like,
crash in the forest, right?
Right at the very end. Yeah, that's where
because
they,
I'm pretty sure that's my only through line of Star Trek movies is I've only watched the ones where they blow up the Enterprise.
Is that also the one
Woof.
with the clone Insurrections?
No, that's Nemesis.
That one, well, I'm a little more iffy on. Insurrections was fine.
Yeah, and
The
I think
Borg one is
Nemesis
so good.
Nemesis pains me so much knowing that it was Tom Hardy and just what a complete waste that was. But so,
I didn't realize, and then I did a rewatch a couple of years ago. I think I was like, "Wait a minute!"
I think I found out when Inception came out, and I'm like, what else has he been in? And I'm like, no, what? Are you kidding me? Like, because he's so fun in Inception, talking about how you thought that was overrated, but he's such a fun character. And I'm like, oh, I should go watch more of his movies. And then I'm like, what?
well, that's
Something
the thing,
that's
like,
not overrated. Tom Hardy. My God, what an actor!
Agreed.
Yeah. So anyway, 2, 4, 6, watch them in order. Why not? And then 5, you could watch the MST3K 3000 version, and if you really wanted to. That's the only way to watch that movie. So.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but every like the odd movies in the original like movie section are just terrible. Like 1, 3, and 5. I mean, Search for Spock isn't terrible, but it's not good.
Oh, First Contact
Yeah.
is the one with the Borg. That is good.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
so good.
Right. Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, that's not this topic. I mean, I could go on obviously about Star Trek, but one to me is very genre appropriate, but it is not exactly what I'd call a good movie.
They were trying to be 2001, and they just
Exactly. That was exactly what I was thinking. Is like, it's just very, this is pretty hard sci-fi as far as Star Trek goes. They really get into the nitty gritty. They do some wonky things, and then they resolve it, and great. But it could have been an episode. It didn't need to be a movie, and you definitely don't need to watch it more than once. Like the last time I watched it was, I don't remember watching this movie, but I know I have. Let's watch it again, and I'm like, oh god. No,
it's insane what like the original series was what, like 68 episodes. Like it's insane what like just those 68 episodes of like has spawned.
That the original series surely is like genre defining of some sort.
Oh, for sure, it was genre defining on many levels.
I mean, you could, while the 68 episodes are impactful, you could argue that the first couple of seasons of TNG are the same train because Gene Roddenberry is still alive and had plenty more stories to tell.
They actually used, for the first 2 seasons, something I learned at like my first or second Comic-Con, they used original TOS scripts for TNG.
Right.
So.
And those were fairly terrible episodes.
Yeah. I mean, the first 2 seasons, like if you're gonna watch Next Generation, like there's a couple of episodes you can pick out from the first 2 seasons, but after that, like just start in season 3 and you're good to go.
I don't remember if I watched all of it, but there was another Gene Roddenberry show. I was like, oh, the Star Trek guy? I'm gonna watch this. And it was with the Hercules.
Andromeda.
Actor.
Yeah.
Andromeda. I think I watched all of it, and I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know why. I really enjoyed Andromeda, even though it was not good.
Right.
I liked the what was she, the Sun Avatar or something? She was cool, but I remember that. But on that, I don't remember it being good.
Yeah, I mean, out of that entire show, like one of the big takeaways I have is still, one of my favorite lines from the episode. I can't remember the chick's name, but the blonde gal who was the pilot, I think. And she like gets on her ship at one point and she gives it some directive and it's like, that's unsafe. And it's like, okay, well, issue override code, shut up and do what I tell you. And I was like, yep, that's going in. That's in the brain forever now. So
you know what else is overrated? Battlestar Galactica.
I tried watching it. I can agree with you because it didn't hook me. So
I'll take your word for it because I've never watched it.
If it's overrated, if people are like, this is like genre, if this is so amazing, then yeah, because I couldn't get into it.
Well, it's usually when people their go-to for sci-fi TV is like that, Stargate, Babylon 5, things like that, I think.
Stargate.
You got good friends if they're suggesting Babylon 5. So
you've got great friends if they tell you to watch Stargate.
I've never watched any of them, so they can be as great as they want. I don't.
You should watch Stargate. It holds
up. Stargate movie was good.
Everything Stargate's good.
I haven't decided ever to sit down and watch it. Wait, no, hold on. I watched one episode of some version of Stargate, and I was bored to tears.
There are bad episodes.
Universe? You have no fucking clue.
Yeah. There are a lot of boring episodes there.
I hated the so obvious episodic nature of like, this is like worse than Monster of the Week because it's like Planet of the Week, and no.
Star Trek is.
Yeah, I mean,
they grow. When they started, it was episodic was the thing, but it gets more overarching. It gets more expansive. It gets more season wide and multi-season wide stories.
That's also one of the hard things about watching older TV shows is like we've gotten so used to serialized that episodic is kind of hard to watch.
Yeah,
which is why you can still watch the original X-Men cartoon and Spider-Man cartoons and Batman cartoons, and they're delightful.
Because they have expensive stories.
Because they have overarching, they follow through line. Which at the time people were like, "Why are you doing this? These are kids' cartoons. They don't understand. It's stupid."
There are so many. That's why people still like in those shows, though, right?
Well, I mean,
X-Men, yes, but I don't remember the Batman, like the Batman animated from the 90s.
Batman of the three of them was the most episodic.
I mean, that's basically hold up. Okay. It's like that's so that was like an icon for
it.
That
did
right.
I think it got away with it because there were a lot of like two-parters and callbacks in other episodes and things that happened. It wasn't quite the same as like one episode bleeds into the other, but there was enough references back and there were enough two-part events that it was like, okay.
Well, yeah, and they definitely did continue episodes, right? Like you'd deal with some bad guy, and then he'd come back, and they'd reference back to the episode where you saw him. So I guess that makes sense. But
I guess we all had like a. What was your favorite of those like iconic shows back then? Which one was your favorite?
Batman
Probably
animated
X-Men.
series.
yeah, I mean, I don't know which one's my favorite kid. Like I loved X-Men. I loved Batman.
The first one, that's why you
Spider-Man
had him
is still
first.
great, but
Spider-Man was my favorite by a lot. That's not overrated. That's the greatest fucking cartoon. God, that was so good.
you're overrated.
No, you're a whore. No, you're a whore.
Oh, Demon
I
is
am
nice.
so overrated.
True.
Justin is the most overrated podcast member.
You know what's overrated?
I'll allow it.
What was overrated?
Denmark.
As
And
sickly as
Scandinavia
rated
and
as it should be.
Sweden and Norway and all the other places you're from.
Oh, we got our shit together. Unlike you lot.
They put it
Uh,
in a backpack.
We don't have to have our
Not at
shit
all.
together. We have American exceptionalism to protect us from COVID. Thank you very much. We're gonna be just
Well, this has been the
I mean-
final episode of While We
EG
Weren't Recording.
EG's just making my point for me. I don't have to say anything.
I have air conditioning. What do you have? You're sweating.
He has snow and ice. It's always.
So do
cool.
I
Why
at
would
some
he
point.
Why would he need air conditioning? It's just
Because he's
naturally
dying today.
occurs.
Look at him.
Yep, looks like it.
He said it before you got here. He was
Yeah,
dying.
it's like 30 degrees.
Now that we've annoyed
Yeah,
all
30
4
degrees
million-
in foreign speak, which is like really hot in normal speak.
What I don't know. I don't know what you use.
It's like half again plus 7, right?
You don't know what
Isn't
to
that-
use. Listen, you can argue the merits of imperial versus metric all you want. If one number system has 100 as being hot and another one has 30 as being hot, the one with 30 being hot is stupid.
It's only 86. it looks like.
100
It's-
conveys what you mean. 30 is like, I don't know.
It's 86.
Great.
That's very hot for me.
You can sweat at 86, but it's depending on other environmental
My
factors. it's comfortable.
Nordic heritage was not made for
I was going to say
86.
86 for Justin's probably like a light day.
It's also because it's so humid here. It's like there's water everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like we have
He
a,
lives in a
hu-
The
swamp.
humidity is what fucking kills you.
Right.
It's like
Yeah, it was
80%
86
humidity or
plus
something.
Humidity sucks. So
Correct.
It's not Florida bad, but it's pretty bad.
Nothing's Florida.
Right.
Nothing's Florida bad. That's true.
we got to wrap this up so I could go outside and fight the jungle that I'm living in. So
Yeah.
So plug everything.
Justin,
Welcome
Florida
to the
man.
Florida
Let's go.
podcast.
we'll do it while we're not recording. So this has been while we weren't recording.
Drive through RPG. Check out Broken Jars at XYZ. Check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Broken Jars. You can find me on Twitter at Jacob Ingalls, which is you can see on my name tag here. Yeah,
About the rest of us.
Yay!
I don't care about the rest of you.
We'll figure
I
out
don't
what
even
we're
have
talking
Twitter,
about
but I
in 2
still want a
weeks.
shout out.
It'll be overrated.
I have a YouTube channel with 3 videos on them, and I'm only embarrassed by 2 of them.
Well, what more do you want, people?
Right, that's high praise.